So welcome. This is the third mentoring session for 𝗠𝗲. 𝗠𝗲 is a non-profit organization, and we provide mentoring, coaching, networking sessions, and career days. We go to schools, and it's very important for us to empower women in the mining industry, as well as students and school children, to tell them why they should be joining the mining industry, the science, technology, and the energy industries. And my name is 𝗠𝗲হি𝗁𝗣𝗀𝗀. I'm the mentoring lead for 𝗠𝗲. And yeah, it started way back in 2021 when I joined the mentee program. And thereafter, I took a year break, busy with my master's, and then was a mentor last year for the same program, the 𝗠𝗲 mentoring program. And then this year, mentoring lead. So it's really been a privilege to be a part of 𝗠𝗲, and really privileged that everyone is joining us. Tonight's session is all about burnout and, what's the signs of burnout? What happens when you're burnout? And then how do we deal with it? And how do we overcome burnout and prevent burnout? So we have a really fantastic panelist tonight, and it is 𝗁𝗲, who is a professional counselor. It is Janine, who's a chemical engineer, and 𝗠𝗲𝗀𝗻𝗄𝗀, who is a executive assistant at Fraser Alexander. So welcome, ladies. I would like you all three of you, we'll start with 𝗁𝗲, just to introduce yourself briefly, and then we'll go to Janine and then 𝗠𝗲𝗀𝗻𝗄𝗀.
Awesome. Thank you so much, 𝗠𝗲. I'm 𝗁𝗲𝗁𝗄𝗀. I'm all the way from Kimberley, the city of diamonds, with a big hole and where diamonds come from. So it's really a privilege and an honor for me to sit with all the ladies on the panels, and even with every lady that's part of tonight's evening. We had trendsetters and trailblazers before us, women that entered mining, but for the future generations, we are their trailblazers, and making sure they get to do even better than we could ever think of doing. So I have 15 years of experience in multimedia. That was also long hours, many hours, projects getting finished, and I only realized once it gone too far that I were suffering from burnout or experience burnout. And I think now with age, you just become more wiser, and you know the signs and you know the signals, and but still I didn't know how to deal with it. And I think an evening night like tonight, no matter what age you are, you're going to know exactly how to deal with the burnout and kick it out even before it puts its roots down.
Thank you so much, 𝗁𝗲. We're very excited to hear and learn from you, and how to prevent burnout and, just become superheroes in our own lives. It's so important that we conquer this little world of a rat race, and really thrive. I think that's important. So Janine, you can go ahead and introduce yourself. We're very excited to have you.
Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Janine. 𝗁𝗲, we have a lot to talk about. I'm a diamonds girl. I started my career in '99 at 𝗣𝗲𝗲𝗀𝗃𝗃 Namakwa Mines. And then in 2009, I left the group to start my own consultancy. And then as of May 2022, I've been with 𝗂𝗏 Minerals. And last year, I was a mentee on the 𝗠𝗲 mentorship program that 𝗠𝗲 was talking about, which was life-changing, by the way. I think this session is very important, exactly as 𝗁𝗲 said. You don't realize it until it's too late, until things are falling apart. If there was a way of detecting it a lot earlier, you could manage it. I'm hoping that after this session, we will feel free to talk to people about it, because for me, the biggest thing was feeling that everything was me and feeling alone. So I never spoke about it. So I'm hoping that we will all feel free to look for help. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janine. 𝗠𝗲𝗀𝗻𝗄𝗀, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you so much, 𝗠𝗲. Good evening, ladies. Good evening, everyone. I am 𝗠𝗲𝗍𝗃. I'm the Executive Technical Advisor for Fraser Alexander, who's currently acting as a SHEC manager for the Tailings Division right now. And for the two of you, you'll have to teach me a bit about being a gold girl. I'm not a gold girl. A coal, platinum, PGE's girl, kind of, yeah. I don't have much exposure in gold, yes, and I've got more than 13 years of exposure in the mining industry. And I'm really grateful to be part of this important conversation today. I mean, burnout is a real challenge for many of us, especially in such high stress environments. And today I came back running, I had back-to-back meetings. So for me, this session isn't just about understanding burnout, but learning how we can support each other more effectively to maintain a healthy balance in our lives. And I hope we can create an open space, honest space, and live with the tools that will help us manage and ideally prevent burnout going forward. Now, thank you.
Thank you so much, 𝗠𝗲𝗍𝗃. Yes, I would definitely recommend and encourage the audience tonight to interact. Raise your hand if you have a question, chat to us if you feel comfortable with switching on your video. We'd love to see your faces and your reactions. We don't want to just look at a blank screen, but nonetheless, so I think we should start. And my first question tonight is, can you see my presentation? Can all of you see my presentation? Great. So my first question is, if you feel any of these or use any of these words, maybe raise your hand so that we can see, in what space you are. Are you exhausted? Are you tired? Do you use the word stressed? I'm busy. I'm overwhelmed. I'm tired. I've had enough. I'm done. There's just too much. I think I probably used, 90% of those words today. I see quite a bit of hands raised, which is great. Means you're in the right space and, in the right session where hopefully after this, we're going to get somewhere and know how to deal with it. So maybe we can ask 𝗠𝗲𝗍𝗃. 𝗠𝗲𝗍𝗃, if you can share with us, what are those words that you feel you use quite often? Yeah, just a brief introduction of yourself. I think you're on mute.
Evening, everyone.
There we go. Evening.
Hi. So most of the time I use overwhelmed, tired, frustrated, and exhausted.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing with us. And then I saw a few hands, but you guys were too quick. You all put down your hand when you heard I'm going to ask questions or ask you to talk. So yes, I think these are the words that we use when we're tired, when we're fatigued, those type of things. And I think then signs of burnout, do any of you experience these things? Do you experience headaches, muscle tensions, neglecting your self-care? Are you negative and irritated? Do you feel helpless? Do you feel drained? Are you anxious? Any of those signs? I have headaches and muscle tension. I do my stretches with my necks quite often, even in the car on my way from work to home. So I think these are important to acknowledge and, identify the signs of burnout. So then I would like to ask Gherdien, can you please explain to us from a counselor perspective, what is burnout and what can happen once we burnt out?
Yes, definitely. I'm going to quickly share my screen. So,
yes, let me start sharing.
You and then that one. Okay, so burnout is I want you to see that there is a tree in front of you, And in this tree, there are fruits that's in the tree. So what we can see is the fruits, it's apples, like real live apples that we see. And that definition that I'm going to give now is something tangible that we can hold, we can see it, we can taste it. So that's the following definition of burnout that I'm going to give you. We're going to be just looking at the top surface. And in 1970, Herbert Friedenberger defined burnout with, it has 3 dimensions. So the first dimension is depersonalization. So, and today they call it 𝗠𝗲his𝗁 dimension. And this is where you separate yourself from your work instead of investing in it. So it's almost, you feel very distant from it. It feels meaningless. If I have to plug another fruit from the tree for depersonalization, I would have a fruit that says negative or inappropriate attitude towards colleagues or even clients or managers. And another one will be irritability, loss of idealism, and withdrawal. Then another one, key dimension is decreased sense of accomplishment, which they have now later called inefficacy dimension. And this fruit is you just keep on working harder and harder, and for a less sense of what you're doing is making a difference. I don't know if anybody has felt that way before, where you just feel you're just working harder and harder and harder, and there's no purpose in it. You don't feel there's any meaning. Another one is reduced productivity, capacity, low morale, and inability to cope. So we can almost see this one ties a lot in with purpose and how we feel when we go to work or when we do our work on a daily basis. Then there's another one is emotional exhaustion. And I think we are all, this is the first one that we would relate to the most, because that's the one we pick up when we are exhausted. And this one comes from caring too much for too long. It feels you're wearing out. So it's a fruit that we've plucked, and it's now loss of energy, depletion, and fatigue. Who of us have ever felt that way before? All of us, yes. So I just want to also add, when you do get to a space where you are like you can't stand up in the morning, you feel you can't hold your cup of coffee up, that has actually gone further than burnout. That has gone into another stage of burnout. So we're just going to deal with the burnout now because we want to stop it before it gets any worse. And that. So interestingly is that men experience burnout more with a depersonalization dimension. So they will have feelings of that it's meaningless, or they would have negative or inappropriate attitudes towards colleagues, maybe a spouse. Another fruit is irritability, loss, and withdrawal. And I think some of us would have maybe experienced that with our dads in the past. Women, on the other hand, we experience it from emotional exhaustion. So that's the one. And I think that's also because we would work, study, and look after the kids, all of that at the same time. And we are emotionally there because we in nature, we are nurturers. We love to nurture. The formula for, okay, before I go further, I just want to say most of the things that I am referring to, I got, this is Dr. Emily and Amelia 𝗠𝗲his𝗁cie. If I pronounce that incorrectly, I apologize. But they wrote a book on burnout and also used peer-reviewed, evidence-based journals to form their concept that we're going to be looking at today for burnout. Because if you go on LinkedIn, if you go on the internet and you search for burnout, you're going to get a lot of theories. You're going to get a lot of ways of describing burnout. But this one, I think, is the most simplistic and the one that's going to help us the most to prevent burnout from happening. So the formula for burnout is a place that you need to care and invest. So if we are passionate about our jobs, we're not just going to sit and just do like half a job. We're going to really invest into our careers. We're going to invest into our studies. We're going to invest into working ahead. It's an ongoing demand, so that the job doesn't end. There is unmeetable expectation sometimes and unceasing demand. So this is the formula for burnout. Okay, so oh, sorry, let me keep it there. So originally, researchers thought that burnout only happens in the workplace, but in the last 9 years, they started looking at burnout also from a parenting point of view. So, and social activism. So anything that we are part of, even being a part of 𝗠𝗲, being part of studying and your professionalism. All of those areas are vulnerable to burnout. And I think the problem is sometimes if all of them are demanding something from us at the same time, and we don't know how to deal with that stress and that stressor at that moment in time. A layperson would describe burnout as a person who is overwhelmed and exhausted by everything they do and still worrying that they are not doing enough. Is there any, by raise of hands, is there anyone that can relate to that phrase that I just mentioned? So a person who is overwhelmed and exhausted by everything they do and still worrying that they are not doing enough. Okay, now we are going to debunk some myths. So myth number 1 is stress does not cause physical symptoms. And number 2 is just because you've dealt with the stressor, that doesn't mean you have dealt with the stress itself that causes burnout. So we need to deal with the stressor. Okay.
So 𝗠𝗲, if you talk about stress doesn't have a physiological, do you mean like my tense muscles is not part of a burnout?
That's the myth. The myth is it does not have a physiological symptoms.
Oh,
But
it does not. Sorry. Okay.
Has a yeah. So there's a guy, 𝗣𝗲𝗲𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗃. He wrote a book, The Body Keeps Score, and how they show that trauma is being stored in our bodies if we do not. And I think this stress cycle that I'm going to explain to you is one of the aspects of explaining how your body stores what you are going through.
Okay.
Yes. So stress. So now what we're going to do is we looked at the, at the fruit that's on top of the tree by describing what burnout is. So it's almost like the theory, and it explains to what we are looking at. But now we want to get to the roots. We want to see what is causing what we are seeing on the root. And for that reason, we need to go to the roots. And the root is burnout is a cycle. So for that, I'd first need to, sorry, the 2 slides swapped around. For that, I first need to explain these 2 words, because it's very important that you understand the difference between a stressor and stress. So the stressor, that is something that activates a stress response in your body. So that is like the bear that comes to hunt you, or the email that you receive in your mailbox and your heart starts beating faster because you already know what's in that email. And stress is the neurological and physiological shift that happens in your body when you encounter the threat. So stress is that when you feel your heart start beating faster and you actually stop breathing. So that is stress. So that's important. Burnout is a stress cycle. We need to work through the stress cycle to prevent burnout. And before we can, And before we can jump in, it was very important that we just look at these two so that you know what is the difference between the stressor and the stress. So a stressor, let me go back. A stressor can be anything from your 5 senses, what you see, feel, smell, touch, or taste. Like sometimes you can just see something and it starts, you have that moment where you feel, okay, something's going to happen, or something that you're imagining that can harm you. External stresses are work, money. You can raise your hand as I read and you know you can relate to that one. Work, money, family, time, cultural norms, expectations, experiences, and discrimination. And then less tangible ones, I think I can relate to some of these definitely. Self-criticism, body image, identity, memories, or the future. So those are stressors. What's important here to remember is that no matter which one you are experiencing in any different degree or in any way, all of these will be interpreted by your body as potential threat. Okay. Then your body has been created to automatically protect itself. It is an adaptive response to protect itself from the bear that comes and attacks you. So as soon as you see a bear or you see a lion or you see something that's going to attack you, your body has a generic response, that is the stress response that activates those neurological things that's happening. That's your endorphins that helps you ignore uncomfortable things that's happening. Your heart beats faster. You're more focused. You're increasing in your focus. Your muscles tense. You actually have less pain. Your body is not able to register pain as much as it would if it's not under the stress. It's focused on the here and now thinking. Your memory shifts from a channel that is focusing from narrow band of experience to immediately focusing on the stressor to maximize your body's response. It will actually shut down, it starts working less. The areas of your body, like your immune system, is deprioritized. So it's not important to digest the food. It's not important to repair tissue at this moment. It's not important to focus on these things, because what I need to do now, your body is responding and saying, what I need to do now is get you to safety. So we need to activate all of these other things to make sure you are safe. And so we're running from we see this bear, all of these are activated. We run away from the bear, and after the bear, we run and we get to a village. And guess what? There's someone there in the village, and you scream for help, and they open up the door, and you run into the door. You close the door, and the bear goes away because he sees he won't be able to go in the door. And what do? We dance around, we celebrate, we are excited, we celebrate life. There's even a rainbow in the sky, and we're so happy that we are here, that we're alive. That is a response cycle that was complete. So we perceived the threat, we ran away from the threat, and now we are celebrating that we have completed the stress response. So what we see here is that every stress cycle that causes burnout, because it's the stress cycle that if we get stuck in the stress cycle, that is what causes stress. So here you can see we've got the beginning. That is the perceived threat. That is the bear coming after us. Then we've got the middle, where we do something with our body to get away from the threat. And then there's an end. And that is when your body perceives that there is a signal that we have escaped the potential threat. So we feel safe again. But the thing that happens is when we open up an email or we receive a call or there's something that thing that you know that gets your heart beating faster, that you feel uncomfortable with, those situations, our body still perceives it the same way we would perceive a threat of a tiger or a bear. But it doesn't, and because we think, okay, but this is an email, it won't kill me, we never continue through the cycle. So we don't go home after work and celebrate and have a party and be like, oh, thank goodness I made it out alive. I think sometimes we do, but we don't, because we don't see it in the same light as the tiger and the bear. And the problem is we get stuck in this middle place where we don't do something with our body. When we don't do something, we stay stuck there, and we never give our bodies the time to perceive, okay, but I'm safe now. I've gone through what I need to go through. And the good news is that we don't need to be out of the stressor that's causing the stress. We don't need to be away from that. It can actually still be taking place, and we can complete the stress cycle. So, for instance, if your boss calls you in, there's a beginning, or let's say there's targets that we need. You realize, okay, I haven't met my targets. There's a beginning, I perceive the threat. Then there's a middle where I do something with my body. So that what we're going to do is what I'm going to explain now is you do something with your body. You do 10 jumping jacks. You do a breathing exercise. And then you are activating the same neurological systems in your brain, in your body, that's saying after that, you are safe. You can relax now. And even though you still have those same targets, you have told your body in that same way, I'm safe now. Okay, so I just want to follow here that.
So I actually think, 𝗁𝗲, is yeah, definitely physical activity has helped me a lot. If I feel very frustrated, very overworked, very overwhelmed, and it's been a tough day, you're at work, and I just get into gym clothes, doesn't matter how much work I have to do, I go for a run. And man, when I'm done with that, I just feel so much better. So I'm gonna tell my boss, if you find the door locked, it's because I'm busy doing jumping jacks, getting rid of my stress.
Yes. I was working today after a meeting that we had, and then I'm doing jumping jacks there in the hall, and I'm like, because I feel this way at this moment. I feel, okay, now I have to complete the stress cycle, because I know I had a perceived threat, and then walking out of there, I did my 10 jumping jacks, and I really could feel great after that.
I think if you, because before you got to the end, before you explained the whole cycle, I almost felt like, what if you just have constant stress? What if it's just constant? And I think you answered it by saying, getting rid of it whilst it started, it's not going to build up, because I feel like we kind of end up bottling up, and that's that place where we don't do anything about it. We just keep on being stressed, and your body is just taking the punches, but you don't do anything about that. And I think that's when it becomes just too much. And I think that's when you go beyond burnout and you get hospitalized, or those type of things where it gets to the extremes. Because so are you saying we need to get rid of the stress physically, or having mindfulness, those type of things?
So what you need to do is you need to complete the stress cycle. So you need to, for instance, I've got from peer-reviewed and evidence-based research that they've done, jumping jacks is going to help you to complete that stress cycle. Tense your muscles as much as you can for a few seconds and then release it is also activating that, okay, I'm safe now. A run around the block, going to run. So we're hearing there's a lot of physical activity. Use your imagination, how you are kicking and boxing this thing that's making you upset, because your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not real. So you can even do that. And then breathing. Breathing is the number one thing. And what causes burnout, I just want to touch on that again, is when we get stuck in that middle part, because we stay there. We're not dealing with it. So, and that gets chronic. So when it gets chronic and we stay in that state of stress chronically, that's when burnout happens, because we've never told our bodies, okay, you're safe now. It's over.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe we can open up the floor to Janine and 𝗠𝗲𝗀𝗀 to find out from them if they've ever burnt out and how did they deal with it, or if you're just superheroes and you know this middle part, you've got it down, and you've never had burnout, you must give us your secrets. So maybe we'll start with 𝗠𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀. Please go ahead.
Yes, I've been burnout, and it's something that it profoundly shaped me and my perspective on work and self-care. My burnout was back in 2021. And that was a wake-up call for me, because I was still in a cycle where I felt that I had to prove myself. I have to prove my wealth. And I felt like I had to push constantly to be seen as a capable someone. But that drive, it drove me to go unchecked, to not listen to myself, and to not listen to, my body when it's communicating to me. And it costed me highly so. And it's clear that burnout is not just an individual experience. It's a result of the environment where we feel that we constantly have to prove ourselves. We have to meet endless commitments and expectations, which they never end. They keep on coming every day. Or we have to attach, our self-worth to our commitments, to our achievements, which is something that in this environment where we're working, we feel like I need to achieve constantly. And recognizing burnout, recognizing this allows us to shift our focus from self-blame to examining how we can create a healthier workplace environment. So my burnout back in 2021 was a wake-up call for me, where I realized that pushing myself to exhaustion was not worth it. And it certainly wasn't sustainable for me and for my family as well, as I think I was not available at all times. I had to prove myself at work. I had to work long hours, and since then I've made self-care non-negotiable. And I've had honest conversations about workload at work and expectations. Even if it's challenging, it's not easy, believe you me, to say, no, I'm not going to be able to do this. It's not easy without guilt. So I had to train my mind. I had to train myself on how to say no. Burnout, has taught me that proving my worth should not come at the expense of my own health. It should not come at the expense of my own well-being and my own family. So I've learned to take self-care of myself, to set boundaries, and to be present at that moment, to shut down. If I'm saying that I'm now back at home, I'm at home. I'm not going to be worried about work. Many times we come and we bring work back at home. We're at home, but we're working. So setting boundaries for me has helped me tremendously so. And I must say, it was due to the burnout that I suffered in 2021 that had to be my wake-up call for me. Yeah.
Thank you, 𝗠𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀. I think it's so true. And what I'm picking up is definitely, that self-imposed standards that we set for ourselves, because you end up thinking people depend on me. I can't say no, because if I don't say no, who's going to do the work, or what's going to happen then? But then you just realize, it's not in vain. Yes, you have your duties and your responsibilities on a daily basis, but just say yes to everything, you end up, setting standards for yourself. And yeah, and now people meet us to those standards. So it's kind of also, I think, a reset to say, you know what, let me take a step back. 𝗠𝗲𝗀𝗍 doesn't have to do everything. And I think we'll get into that also, is, how to deal with the burnout, and then moving forward, how do we prevent ever getting into that situation again? Thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that.
And I must say, maybe before you move in, it's the competitive environment that we find ourselves in, where we feel the need to be relevant. And for us to be relevant, we feel like we have to almost put in the work every time, work twice than other people, which is not necessary at all.
Yes, I agree. Thank you so much. And then, Janine, will you share with us on when you burnt out, and how do you deal with it and preventing it?
Okay, sure. Thanks so much. So I think my personality is already a recipe for disaster. I tend to struggle with perfectionism. I'm very competitive. I'm an overachiever, and I'm an empath on top of it all. And for me, when I got into the workplace, I actually had a lot of little bears, 𝗠𝗲𝗀𝗃, looking in retrospect, that I just covered with a rug. We just shoved them, all the little bears, under a rug and moved on. And especially starting 1999 in the mining industry, I perceived it as my inability to cope with the environment. So the environment's not going to change, so shove the little bears under the rug. So in 2015, I revived my consultancy again, and the first 6 months I had 4 clients. I normally only take 1 client at a time. And again, I was not going to say no. It was a lot of money, a lot of prestige. I slept barely 2 hours a night. I stopped eating food. I lived chocolate and caffeine. It was very explosive. And then in the middle of the year, the mining industry fell flat. The oil and gas industry fell flat, and my husband is in the oil and gas industry. And suddenly I had no clients, just like that. My husband also had no more customers, just like that. And suddenly those little bears are just thrown off the rug, and they were just coming out all over the place. So I decided I'm going to go running. And running was fantastic, but nothing changed. Absolutely nothing. My diet was still really bad. And I didn't feel better, even though I felt of the physical benefits of running. Mentally, I did not feel like the bears went anywhere. So I went to a GP to get a referral to a specialist, to go see an endocrinologist, because there must be something wrong with me. Physically, there must be something wrong. Instead, she gave me a referral to go see a psychiatrist. That was a shock. It was a shock. And
I can imagine.
I only went because I thought, I'm going to come back to you because the psychiatrist is going to say, this was unnecessary. You wasted your time. No, she said to me, she picked up a phone and she said, Janine, I'm calling a clinic. You need to be booked in immediately. That was really bad. I did not realize that I was in that state. And I work in the marine industry, and having a mental health diagnosis, I cannot get a seaworthy certificate. So I begged the psychiatrist. I said, please give me a chance. I was not aware of what I was doing to myself. So she gave me some anti-anxiety medication, and she said she wanted to see me in a week. So I went home and I slept. My husband and my mom took care of the kids, and I just slept for 3 days. And that was the shock I needed to realize that my life was out of control, but my response to it was also out of control, and that I couldn't ignore the bears anymore. I needed to do the work to get rid of my stressors. So then I went on this journey, and the next time I saw the psychiatrist, she was so impressed. She said, okay, Janine, you don't have to come back. But there was a time in between all of this craziness where I found myself sitting in a cinema, 10 o'clock in the morning, with a peak cap and a hoodie and dark glasses, and just trying to disappear into the seat. And then that's when I realized, this is not good. This is not good. I felt so detached from the world, from myself, from everything. So I had to go on a journey where I had to realize that there has to be a no, there has to be an enough, and I have to look at the stressors. So, and then it's been a journey. That was 2015. Last year, 2023, I was on the 𝗠𝗲 program, and that was such a brilliant program because number one, I felt like it was just Janine. I felt like I was the only person out of 8 billion people who reacted like that. And the mentorship program showed me that, no, it's actually quite a normal response. I'm not alone. And that it gave me so much, what's the word I'm looking for? Not justification, but anyway, it was really something that solidified what I'd been thinking all along. And so, yes, ever since then, I'm very aware of when the perfectionism gets out of control, when the competitiveness gets out of control, and I take a step back. And Minerals is also a brilliant company. They promote work-life balance. So my manager will say, no, Janine, close your computer, don't do it. So I really believe they also hold me accountable. And then, yeah, and that's about it. That's about it. I'm pretty much in control now, and yeah, the bears are gone.
That's absolutely fantastic. Wow, it's such a, I almost want to say a testimony of, you know, you like the hoodie and the whole cinema story. It's actually like a point in your time where you had to realize, listen, I need to do something about it, or there's not going to be anything left of me. And you had to react, and I think you did so wonderfully, and now you're thriving. I mean, we see you just blossoming, and it's really fantastic.
Thank you. A little tip, my son. So at that time, 2015, I had a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old, and a husband that worked offshore. So it was really overwhelming. And you think that the kids don't know, you think that they don't see, but they actually pick up on it. So my son came to me and he said to me, Mommy, how do you eat an elephant? So I said, I don't know, you put the whole elephant in your mouth. And he said, no, you eat it tiny by tiny. So whenever I get overwhelmed, I stop myself and I say, Janine, tiny by tiny. So there's all of these little coping mechanisms that I've built into whenever things become much. I just say, tiny by tiny, or I can do hard things. And yeah, that's how I've managed to keep it under control.
Thank you so much. Would you like to add on, 𝗁𝗲?
Now, I just want to say one of the things for burnout also that they touched on, both of the ladies were, I would almost say, the spirit of Ubuntu. We need someone that cares for us as much as we care about them. And you could just hear how they had a support system, and when they went to them and said, okay, but I have to say no to this, or I can't do this now, how they supported them. So that's what, as much as we want to be independent and we want to be strong and we want to be conquerors, we need a community of people around us to help us fight burnout, because without them, we can't. Just like that story of the bear, someone was there opening up the door to save us, and then we celebrated it together.
Oh, thank you, 𝗁𝗲. I would like to then share our next portion then to say, how do we deal with, can you see my screen? Yes. How to deal with burnouts. And I read this and I think, I'm not applying it currently in my life, and I want to approach this way of dealing with the burnout. First of all, doing 10 jumping jacks is going to be on my top priority whenever I feel stressed. But then, yeah, based on also research, they say you must rate how you spend your time, to say, divide your day into specific tasks that you're doing, and how does it make you feel? Does it make you feel energized, or does it make you feel drained? I think that's the first point. And then try to start reducing the draining activities and replace them with things that bring meaning, purpose to you. And I think that's what we also, all of the ladies touched on, is to say, we tend to feel, you kind of end up feeling numb, and you almost don't feel like doing things anymore, and you feel hopeless, and what does it even mean anymore? It's because you've lost that meaning. Why are you doing what you're doing? I think regaining and the understanding of why you do what you do on a daily basis. And, you know, doing something that gives you meaning is very important. And then self-care is crucial. I think we've touched on it: breathing, meditation, you know, going to church, or whichever religion you confine to, you know, gymming, or doing something active with your body, walking with the dogs or with your kids, take them to the park and play with them. You know, it doesn't matter how tired you are. I think once you start, you realize it gives you energy, and those endorphins just, you know, fuel your body to make you feel good. And just for a moment, for a fraction, you can forget about the stress and the bear, and, you know, reading those emails. Just sometimes to be mindful of, just switch off your phone for an hour of the day. I promise you, the world is not going to burn down. Everything will be okay when you switch back on your phone. You know, even if it's just 10 minutes a day, just take 10 minutes a day for yourself, whether it's how you start your day, or how you end your day. If you can, you know, take care of yourself, because if you don't have, you're supposed to give from the saucer, not from your cup. And if you just spend 10 minutes a day for yourself, you'll see your cup will run over, and you'll be able to give from the saucer, rather than, you know, emptying that cup and not having anything to give anymore. And I think that's when we start feeling burnt out as well. Is it's just gotten so much, and the load is so much, that we don't feel like you can do anything and you can give anything. And then everyone's going to get a negative Nancy, but that's not really who you are. And I think that's the thing also, to take a break when it's needed, recognize those times, take a break, rest, and set boundaries. And Mulani made the clear example of setting boundaries. And yeah, then just the phrase at the bottom to say, self-care is your fuel. Whatever the road ahead or the path you've taken, self-care is what keeps your motor running and the wheels turning. If you do not take care of yourself, whether it's rather eating healthy or something that fuels your body than eating the chocolate and caffeine. Like, I live off of caffeine, but I can't. I need to make sure, you know, I have healthy habits, so that you can give back to everyone, to your family, to your friends, and to your workplace. So Jean, if you want to add on how to deal with burnout, that would be great.
Yes. So one of the things that's also with burnout is dealing with emotions. So like, we go and put all of them under the rug. We don't want to deal with them. And the same way that I said the stress cycle, it has a beginning and it has an end. Emotions also have a beginning and an end. And it's almost like a tunnel. You go into the tunnel, and then there's a middle part, and then on the other side there's light of the tunnel, light on the other side, and you get through. And what we sometimes do is we don't face those uncomfortable situations. We put the plaster on it, or we put it under the rug and we hide it, and we think, okay, but it's been dealt with because we hide it. Also, it's almost like there's a tunnel, and we're like, no, because there's snakes there and there's spiders there, all these awful things that we're going to face as soon as we deal with these emotions. But or we don't want to go in because we think we're going to be stuck there forever. I'm one of those. I don't want to face the emotion because I think I'm going to stay forever feeling sad, or I'm going to stay forever feeling angry like this. So it's better just to put a smile on my face and not deal with it. But as soon as you deal with it, you're completing the cycle. You get out on the other side, and it actually makes you bolder to deal with that emotions the next time when it comes up. So that's one of them. And breathing is very, very, very important. If you take your hand and you put your thumb on the inside and you close your hand, okay, so this is your brain. And on the outside, this is all your logical thinking. This is what's helping you make choices correctly. This is what's you're making plans. Are you creative? You're entering a state of flow. All of this is happening. But with this, we need to do proper breathing. We need to take deep breaths in, allow it to stay in a bit, and then breathe out. But what happens is, as soon as we get stressed by that stressor, we flip the switch, and now what's exposed? All of this that's helping us to be creative, make plans, all of that is gone, and we are now working with our flight, fight, and freeze mode. We're stuck here. So in order to get that back, all you need to do is just regulate your breathing again. That's why breathing exercises are so important. And what I had to learn with my horse riding, that I'm doing every time I'm stressed, is I take a deep breath in, and I even exaggerate it, and I go like this. And that just sends all those signals, all those neurological signals to your brain saying you are safe. So yes.
Thank you so much, 𝗠𝗲. I would like to open up the conversation to the audience as well. If anyone would love to share, their story, have you burnt out and how did you deal with it? Or, maybe how you just keep on, preventing burnout. Yeah, we'd love to hear from the audience. If you would like to say something, you can raise your hand and interact. Give it a few minutes or a moment. Yeah, okay, Katie, you can share with us.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, so I also deal with perfectionism, and with my perfectionism is that I tend to procrastinate because I want more time for things to be perfect, and that worry for things not being perfect is what burns me out. And then the more I procrastinate, the more I stress because the deadline. So what I've been doing recently is I've been like, Katie, just do it. That's what I'm doing now. I'm just doing it. Just get it over and done with. And as soon as I realized that just getting the stuff over and done with, it takes off so much stress and worry off of your back. So that's what I've been doing. Just get it over and done with.
Thank you, Katie. That's very true. I think sometimes we even induce the stress ourselves, by we know we have these deadlines. Like I'm one of them. It's like you're talking to I'm listening to myself, Katie, is to say you want to be perfect, so you procrastinate, but then procrastinate doesn't help you because you're getting closer to the deadline, and it just starts tumbling, and it's just a downward spiral. But rather than, I think that the way I also deal with those type of issues is to have someone that takes me accountable for it. So I have my husband that will say, you need to go sit and type your project. But I have my mom that video calls me and listen, you must see me run to my laptop when she's calling me because I'm supposed to work. But then I find myself actually working after that. So sometimes I don't, having an accountability partner is important also if you know you're a perfectionist and you induce your own stress, to prevent that. Thank you for sharing. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to share burnout or any questions or concerns that you want to ask the panelist? We have a very quiet room tonight, ladies. We're all tired. I think it's really, it just indicates it's fatigue and, end of the year. But I hope we will get somewhere. Yes, Janine, I see your hand is raised.
I just want to give another tip. The breathing work, 𝗠𝗲, I read somewhere that if you breathe out twice as long as you breathe in, you're telling your brain that you are at peace and at rest. So
Yes.
breathe 2 in, 4 out, and it works. Works for me.
Yes.
How many in?
Yeah.
Just say again.
Twice as long as you breathe in, you breathe out. So if you breathe 2 in, 4 out.
4
Because
out.
if you're
Okay.
running, you're not going to stop to breathe out. You need the oxygen. So if you breathe
Yes.
twice as long out as you breathe in, you're telling your body, you're completing that cycle that you're at least telling yourself
Yes.
that peace, the threat is gone.
Okay. Thank you for
Twice
that.
as long. And that exaggerating thing is that's what helps me. I gotta there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Almost like complete release of that stress.
Yes, yeah.
The exaggeration helps with that. So then overcoming the burnout, we've spoken about what it is, how to deal with the burnout, but overcoming that is then, when you feel overpowered and just your life is not balanced at all. It's all about regaining control by clarifying your intentions, setting realistic expectations, and focusing on your next step. So I think that's a lot of the times if we take up too much and we say yes for too many things and you realize it's not working, don't do it again. Don't take up those amounts of tasks again, but rather focus on, setting those boundaries and setting your intentions, and choose what is more important. That's by prioritizing. So yeah, then the question goes to what gives you meaning and purpose? What if each of you could think about what gives you meaning and purpose? Is it your family? Is it your passion for your work? Is it, what gives you purpose in life? And then by refreshing our sense of belonging in the world, we widen the web of relationships that nourishes us and protects us from burnout. So that's part of overcoming burnout. And then to talk about moving forward, practice good time management, maintain a healthy relationships, delegate tasks, take wise rests, cultivate a positive mindset. And then it's not, the aim in life is not to just survive. Like if you ask someone, how are you doing? And they just say, okay, I'm surviving. Like we don't want to live those lives. We want to thrive. We want to be the best, tip-top person, 𝗠𝗲, that can give the world everything, that I can do more because I'm taking care of myself. So yeah, 𝗠𝗲, maybe you can also give us advice on how to move forward. Any perspectives from counseling? How do we move forward from burnout?
Yes. Okay. So while you were, I have this nice quote that goes with it. Well, wellness is not a state of being. It's a state of action, of moving forward. So I also had that for tonight, and it's just we need to move forward. That's the key. So one of the things that helps a lot with one of the interventions that they use is narrative writing. So what you do is you take a piece of paper and you just start writing all your emotions on that. So they actually did studies on that. It doesn't need to be, it can be 5 minutes, it can be 20 minutes. It can be like 3 months apart, it can be 1 week apart, but just go and sit down and write everything that you are feeling at that moment. And that just helps you move forward, because that's what we want to do. We don't want to stay stuck. We don't want to be stuck in that middle or in that stress cycle, stuck in the tunnel with the emotions. And that's one of the ways of working through that. Yes. And I want to come back to the exercises also, because it's so difficult when you finish work, the last thing you want to do is go exercise, or you have all the excuses coming up. And there's this lady that's in my gym class that we are at the gym, on the mine, they have a gym. And then she finishes a night shift. And then when she's finished, she comes and joins the class, and then she goes home. And but when you are doing something difficult, something that is also asking you to invest into it, you are actually growing your brain. Your brain is like physically growing. It's building connections. And that's what's also moving you forward, because you are strengthening yourself and not just in your muscles, but in neurologically, you are strengthening yourself also to take on new challenges, building your brain, setting yourself up for success.
Thank you so much, Khadeen. And Janine, how do we move forward from burnout?
Well, we have to recognize what our limits are and set up some boundaries. Another good tip that I got from a therapist was to have two circles, an inner circle and an outer circle, because I'm an empath and I care so much and I want to help everybody. And if they're in my outer circle, I can't say no to them. And in my inner circle, I can help them. So I've learned to make the inner circle smaller and smaller. So it's about self-preservation. And you know, when you're in the airplane, they tell you have to have the oxygen first before the kids. It's truly the truth. If you are not well, no one else around you can be.
Oh, I love that. I'm gonna write down my small circle and see who can I say no to. Or who can't I say no to, right?
Yeah.
And the big circle are the people that I can say no to.
Yes. So
Oh,
I just had one big circle. Everybody was yes. So I had to learn to put some people outside the small circle.
I love that way of doing it. Okay, I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna write my circles. And 𝗠𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀
Claudine, it's like you were talking to me when you're talking about a gym and, you know, having to convince yourself after work that you need to go to gym. But you know what? I could not agree more with the importance of the support system. I mean, Shanae, there was a time I joined gym, right? And I must say, that was the time when we were very active at that WIMSA group. And you know, you would put pictures that I'm going to gym after work, and that would motivate me and it would make me feel guilty, like I'm paying monthly fees and I don't know the last time I set my foot there, and I should go to gym. If Shanae can do it, why can't I do it? And you know, because we had that support system there, I found myself religiously going to gym. But Shanae stopped posting. Everyone stopped posting. And what did I do? I stopped going to gym. And
we're starting that again.
Please.
I want a photo tomorrow from you.
You know, my sister is lazy to go to gym. She's very wise and I'm very close to her. So every time I feel like guilt in me. She's my go-to first person because I won't feel guilty because she's
see. That's the wrong accountability partner for gymming, 𝗠𝗲𝗀𝗍𝗃.
She would be encouraging me to say, go freeze those fees. See if you can freeze them for 3 months or so. But you know, it taught me the importance of support structures, whether it is professional counseling or creating spaces to share our experiences, different experiences. It helps. I mean, I'm in this counseling group. I'm going coaching. So our coach placed us in one group. Every day in the morning, she makes no mistake, 6 a.m. I know we start our day with the word, a positive word of the day, a motivation every day. And you know what that does? It gives us a right kick of the day on saying, no matter what, I've got it for this day. Nothing is going to bring me down because you've got that support structure that is pulling you every day. And that's something else. So, you know what, to prevent burnout, I focus on setting clear limits for myself and learning to check in with myself regularly. At the end of the day, check in and say, how do I feel? How was my day? What can I do differently tomorrow that, you know, did not treat me well today? And that is checking in with me and what matters for 𝗠𝗲𝗀𝗍𝗃. And it also, you know, I also make sure that I engage in activities outside of work environment, activities that energize me. If it's spending time with my kids, I mean, they give me energy. I can't entertain them if I don't have energy. It was war room not so long when I put my video off here because they were here. So I need energy. They re-energize me. And again, building that supportive network, you know, that has been invaluable. And I'd encourage everyone seated here just like what it was said, in, I think it was Janine, have the bigger network and the smaller circles. So, have those and, know what matters for you and find people that uplift you and set boundaries that protect you. And remember that we're all deserving of a balanced life and rest at the end of the day. So preventing burnout is a continuous journey, and it's about finding what sustains us in a long term. So the network, again, it speaks volume for us. Yeah.
Thank you, 𝗠𝗲𝗀𝗻𝗄. Yeah, I think it just says a lot. I posted those gym photos more for myself to kind of keep myself accountable, and that it actually meant something to someone else and it could encourage someone else. And I think that's important too. You might think someone thinks it's stupid, a photo of you in the gym. Like, there's maybe one person, but the other 10 find it inspirational. So I think finding an accountability partner, and even if it's the sister that doesn't go to the gym, start influencing her, to say, come, let's go. Or I want a photo of you in the gym. So,
for each other.
Yeah, you see, you'd go dress up in your gym clothes, take a photo and leave. So I think I think it's support system and, voicing that you are overworked, talking to someone that can just shed light and be positive and look at things in a positive way. I think we're so privileged, that we have successful careers and, we have a really healthy family and friends. And I think that's, you kind of lose sense if you're so stressed that you can't see the good in things. But just stop every now and then, stop and just look for a second and see something that you're thankful for. And I think already then your mindset will change a bit and won't be as stressed. And then do jumping jacks. That's important.
If I can also add,
Yes.
there was in New Zealand, there's a guy that's doing research on burnout, and what he found with everybody that didn't suffer so much or that learned how to prevent burnout is they had an opposite world. So they had something that they engaged with outside of work that was completely the opposite to what you would expect them, like someone going for salsa dancing or going to do art, but it's so they had this very opposite world of what they would find that person to be, or what you would think that person would like to do. Then they also made peace with not getting everything done. Someone, I think it was Katie, that also said with the perfectionism, we want to get everything perfect, but just realizing, or when I get a project, I want to get it done on the same day, but then realizing, okay, I'm not going to get it done today and it's fine. Tomorrow I'll take it on. So just wanted to add those.
Thank you so much, 𝗠𝗲𝗀𝗻𝗄. I think, yeah, if you look at like an analytical person, I mean, like an accountant or a chartered accountant, you won't ever think they would go and paint or, those type of things. So I find that as an opposite. That was for me a good explanation as well. That just came to mind. Doing something completely opposite, I'll have to think about that. What's something that's out of my character that people wouldn't think I would do, and
For
just
me, it would be baking.
Challenge you. Hey?
For me, it would be baking. That's completely opposite.
Okay.
And I've also learned from my sister. She's a baker. So she will bake and something will fail. She will throw it in the bin. And that's why I hate baking, because you have no control. So I've had to learn. Something can fail. I can throw it away and I can start again.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. My sister-in-law usually makes me eat the flops. So she doesn't throw it away. We eat the flops. Okay, no, thank you so much. Ladies, this was really fantastic. We actually quite ahead of time, and I think just to share a last slide then, and then we close off. We're not going to keep everyone, unnecessarily here. Okay. So then just, I think this is the last slide. Yes, the last slide is on 𝗁𝗲 and her contact details. She's a professional counselor and you can reach out. Maybe you can just talk about the bio. 𝗁𝗲, what do you specialize in, if you don't mind?
Yes. So I'm a professional counselor. So I am providing counseling services outside of medical aid. And I got my bachelor's degree from applied psychology. Sorry, I have a bachelor's applied social science degree, majoring in psychology and counseling. So I am very interested in working with burnout, trauma, grief, even like something like sports psychology, because sports psychology, we have athletes that are very focused, they are performing at their peak, and that's exactly what we are doing at our workplaces also. We are performing at our peak. We need to get into that state of flow. So that's what I love working with, is burnout, trauma, grief, self-esteem, all of those areas. And I am in Kimberley, but I'm also able to do nationwide sessions online on Zoom, Google Meet, that I'm also able to see you. Yes.
Thank you so much, 𝗁𝗲. I'm sure you'll definitely have people contacting you. We need counseling and, to how to deal with our daily lives and be the best version of ourselves. And we won't be able to do it without, counseling. And then we just have a comment here from Matimuleng saying, thank you for re-educating me with the deep hole I find myself in. So I really hope, Matimuleng, and I really hope you can go back and, go do some self-care things for yourself, just to make yourself, not feel so stressed. And like 𝗁𝗲 said, if that bear is coming at you, you need to react, you need to respond to that in terms of doing something active, being mindful, breathing exercises, so that we don't get into that hole. The aim is to stay far away from, the deep rabbit holes, because they just keep on, they tend to get deeper and deeper and bigger if we don't deal with it. And chunks by chunks, tiny by tiny, set priorities, what comes first, and start finishing those things. I think, it's really reach out to 𝗁𝗲. It will be fantastic for her to, try and help you navigate out of your situation that you're finding yourself in. And reach out to any of us. You can find all of us on LinkedIn. We'd love to connect with all of you. So with that saying, really, I appreciate everyone that joined tonight. I hope you found it insightful and that you're taking away, steps on how to prevent burnout. It's the last stretch of the year. Let's get through this year. At the end of the year, you should be thriving, not surviving. So just regain your strength, and we'll see you in the next session. Keep eyes on the Women in Mining South Africa LinkedIn page. We post all of our activities there. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good evening.